Okay, so I wanted to make a few videos talking about the difference between software engineering, computer engineering, and electrical engineering. A lot of people ask me what the difference between these majors are because they're going into college and they can't decide which ones to pick. So I wanted to shed a little bit of light on that for anyone who was curious or needed to know the difference. Now, disclaimer, I'm a computer engineer, so that's kind of the one that I know the best. I've done a little bit of research, and I have, of course, fellow students who are in electrical engineering and software engineering, so I do have a bit of knowledge of those as well. But just know that this is coming from the perspective of a computer engineer. So let's start with computer engineering versus electrical engineering. This is the biggest one that people have questions about because these are the two more common ones that are offered at colleges. So when talking about computer engineering versus electrical engineering, the two biggest things to consider are, one, the depth of electronics knowledge, and two, the depth of programming knowledge. We'll start with electronics knowledge. So as you might, realize, electrical engineers are going to specialize in electronics knowledge. They take more advanced classes like, a more advanced electronics course. They'll take power systems, electromagnetics. These are much more advanced electrical topics that cater to how electricity works, as well as, more of a hardware emphasis. Computer engineers, on the other hand, we do need to learn quite a bit about electronics, but not nearly as advanced level as electrical engineers. I'll give you an example. I have a curriculum right here. Computer engineers and electrical engineers will take basic circuit classes together. You can learn about, resistors, capacitors, inductors, and how these things work and how, to make a working circuit. And you'll take labs where you will build circuits together, and, this gives you a basic hardware knowledge, and that's important. It's a good foundation. Electrical engineers are going to take this and they're going to expand upon it in further electronics classes and power classes and things like that. Computer engineers, on the other hand, we don't need to specialize that much. We just get the basic understanding and that's it. Now, we're going to move more into the software side. As a computer engineer, your whole shtick, I guess, what makes a computer engineer unique is that we have a little bit of hardware knowledge and a little bit of software knowledge, but we learn how hardware and software are connected. We learn about how the hardware and software interact to form a computer. For example, one of the biggest things in computer engineering is knowing the hierarchy of how you have like a high-level language like Python, how you go to a low-level language like assembly, and then you will go to machine language, which is ones and zeros, binary, and then you will have that executed on an electrical level, which is the transistors. And knowing that hierarchy and how everything communicates is what makes a computer engineer a computer engineer. Electrical engineers, on the other hand, they're not too worried about the software. They're worried more on an electrical level. The fundamentals, the hardware. That's what makes electrical engineering. Now, as an electrical engineer, you do need to learn a little bit of programming. It'll just kind of give you a very introductory idea of how programming works, because electrical and computer engineers oftentimes have to work together in the field. For example, when making graphics cards, you need to know how programming works as well as how hardware works when you're making it, because you have to write things like drivers for it, right? When you're making an operating system, you have to worry about things like the bootloader, but you also have to worry about a BIOS. How is your software and hardware going to work together? And this is where electrical and computer engineers need to be able to work together. You can't do it by yourself, obviously. But electrical engineers will learn a little bit of programming. At my college, in particular, we take an introductory C class. C is a good foundational language. It'll get all your bases covered. It'll teach you how to program, which is a useful skill in general. Even if you're not going to use it, it's a good thing to learn. So electrical engineers will have a little bit of programming knowledge, but they're more so worried about how the hardware works specifically. Computer engineers, on the other hand, will go into more advanced programming environments, things like programming a microcontroller, things like digital computer design, which you learn, other programming languages, programming systems, where you learn even more programming languages. You need to get a much, much more advanced feel for programming, because that's kind of where we split off. When you get into junior and senior year, that's where you more so specialize. And computer engineers will do things like more higher level programming for advanced purposes. Networking is a computer engineering specialty where you learn more advanced things. You can learn like HTML and how to set up networks and stuff. And I think some like cybersecurity stuff where you need to like program some. I don't know. I haven't done it, but I've just done a little researching in the catalog. Electrical engineers will go on to more advanced things like signal communication, signal analysis, power systems, that kind of thing. So while both majors need to learn a little bit about each other, and they need to have some overlap. Computer and electrical engineers, they need to have those basic ideas of programming and electronics, but the computer engineers are going to take the programming and they're going to advance with that. Electrical engineers are going to take the electronics and they're going to advance with that. So that's kind of more so illustrating how it's good that they have some common ground, but they're going to have to split off eventually when they start getting advanced. So if you're thinking that you don't want to program at all, well, I should say you're going to program. You're not going to be able to get away from it. If you don't think you're a strong programmer and you want to program the least amount possible, electrical engineering is probably for you. You're going to take an introductory programming class, but it's going to do a very good job of giving you an appreciation for how programming works at a fundamental level. It might make you more interested in programming. Who knows? It might make you think, wow, programming's cool. It might not. You might just not like it. But when you get into more advanced classes and more advanced topics, you're going to see programming less and less. It's going to go more about power and how electricity works and things that electrical engineers on an advanced level will cover. I'm not the most sophisticated electrical engineering specialist. As for computer engineers, if you think that programming is more your strong suit, that's going to be for you. You're going to go from C, you're going to learn about assembly, you're going to learn about how all the different registers work, you're going to learn, again, that hierarchy of, how you go from you use C to go to assembly to machine language, and then how it's executed on an electrical level. And then you can do more programming things, programming systems. A lot of computer engineers will typically go into more like software side. There are a lot of software technical electives for computer engineers. Again, I think I mentioned networking and things like that. It's all going to depend on your college, but definitely if you're more of a programming type who wants to know how your programming interacts with the hardware, how they communicate, that is what a computer engineer is going to specialize in. So hopefully this gave you a bit more of an idea on how computer engineering and electrical engineering are different. Obviously they're very, very similar, but as you get more advanced, they tend to separate a little bit more, and their differences start to show a little bit more. So again, computer engineers are going to focus more on a software level. Electrical engineers are going to focus more on a hardware level. So hopefully this painted a pretty good picture for you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you. If you are currently in one of these majors and you're thinking about switching, talk about it in the comments. If you have some knowledge that you would like to share or that you want to answer someone else's question, again, leave a comment. It's important that we work together and that we help as many people as we can, because obviously, you want to make the right decision going into college. So I hope this was very helpful. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching.